This page is the cover of Nintendo official magazine, fronted by the iconic Squirrel Conker from Conker's Bad Fur Day, promising a first look at this N64 title. We're also treated to a Game Boy Advance giveaway, and previews of Banjo-Kazooie and Pokémon Gold and Silver, with some ace breeding tips for Pokémon Masters. It's a cracking issue, brimming with essential Nintendo goodness. This page is a wonderfully illustrated journal entry detailing an adventure with a juice chopper, a fantastical flying machine powered by fruit juice. The creator, Kit Scott ESQ, aged 10 3/4, chronicles a perilous journey, seeking shelter from a blizzard in a cave and then attempting to pilot the chopper. The text humorously describes the machine's unreliability, comparing it to an old, tired donkey, but ultimately hopeful for flight. Interspersed with the narrative are details about the chopper's specs, like its top speed and load capacity, and snippets of what appear to be maps and photographs of wintry landscapes and unique trees, suggesting a grand, imaginative quest. The overall tone is whimsical and adventurous, perfect for a budding explorer. This page is a vibrant advertisement for Nintendo, showcasing the N64 and Game Boy Color. It boasts 6 promises of why their magazine is the best, including first access to games, the most screenshots, and trustworthy writers. A group shot of the Team Nintendo staff, including Barry, Rich, Mark, Sean, Nicola, Dave, and Tamsin, is featured, all looking excitedly at a magazine. The page also provides contact details for the magazine by post and email, along with a catchy slogan, "Quick Flick. If you can't wait to see what we think of Conker's BFD, head for P12. This page is dominated by a massive grinning Conker, the star of Conker's Bad Fur Day. It promises an official UK review and all the essential info, hinting at new heroes, villains, awesome gameplay, and of course, that infamous crude gaming action. Over on the right it's a whirlwind of game news, with mentions of Aiden Chronicles, The First Mage, Choo Choo Rocket Advance, Iridian, Lady Sia, Pokémon World, Rayman, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, Tweety Pie, and Dr. Mario 64 for the Game Boy Color and Nintendo 64. And if that wasn't enough, there's a sneak peek at Indiana Jones on the N64, promising whip-cracking action. This page is absolutely packed with must-see content. We've got reviews kicking off with Banjo-Tooie on page 24, promising the biggest adventure ever on the Nintendo 64, and it's the first official UK review, so you know it's going to be good. Then there's the Blagfest on page 76, hyping up the first 2 Game Boy Advance consoles to be given away in the UK, a real treat for lucky readers. Under the Game Guides section, we're treated to strategies for Battle for Naboo on page 56, and a look at Majora's Mask on page 68, tackling its toughest puzzles. Plus, there's a guide for Gold and Silver on page 64, the first part of an advanced breeding guide, and tips and scores from readers on pages 48, 52, and 54. And just to top it off, there's the awesome collection on page 37, and a look at Mickey's Speedway and Tilt and Tumble in the free Game Boy magazine section, promising all the essential tips for these Game Boy Color adventures. It's a proper gaming feast. This page showcases a cracking full-page advert for Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine on the N64. It promises indie swings in and amazing locations with stunts galore, reminding us that our favorite adventurer is back to take center stage in what's hailed as one of the finest action games ever seen. Developed by THQ, this 3D action adventure was set for an April release. This page dives into the thrilling world of Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine on the N64. We're treated to some fantastic artwork of Indy himself, torch in hand, looking ready for adventure. The text extols the virtues of the game, calling it a chance to unravel the mystery of the Infernal Machine, a device that will pay millions to harness its power. It beckons us to grow some stubble, grab the nearest whip, pop that hat on, and get ready for the N64 debut of the most famous action archaeologist. The screenshots showcase some impressive gameplay for its time, with Indy leaping across chasms, and even facing off against a wolf in a snowy landscape, proving the game will take us to the 4 corners of the globe and back. It certainly sounds like a proper N64 action-adventure that any fan of Indy would be eager to get their hands on. This page brings us more Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine goodness for the N64. We get a solid overview of what makes this game tick, starting with Keeping Up with the Jones, which describes Indy's life of adventure, beautiful women and international travel, all brought to life with some rather fetching screenshots. There's a particularly nice one showing a plane with a red line on a map, no doubt leading to our next grand escapade. Then we move on to Shoot to Thrill, highlighting the game's action-adventure elements, It sounds like you'll be blasting barrels of petrol, and generally causing a ruckus, which is exactly what you'd expect from an Indiana Jones title. The combat is described as a bit simple, but the sheer joy of picking up a hunting rifle and mowing down enemies seems to compensate. Finally, the cool kit bag section shows off Indy's trusty whip and pistol, emphasizing their usefulness in a pinch. It also mentions a cigarette lighter, because even adventurers need to relax sometimes, apparently. Overall, it's presented as a classic indie experience, full of peril and excitement. Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine on the N64 boasts impressive graphics for the console, showcasing varied environments like the scorched American Canyonlands. The game begins with a stylish parachute drop into new areas, immediately launching players into a treasure hunt, teeming with dangers like rattlesnakes and scorpions. While challenging, potentially frustrating at times, the game offers unlimited continues and save points to mitigate setbacks. Players must stay alert as danger lurks around every corner, navigating puzzles and action sequences. The camera is fixed, hovering closely around Indy, but can be maneuvered for better views. Screenshots highlight close-up action and the game's signature whip-cracking moments, promising a proper Indiana Jones adventure. This page delves into the intricacies of Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine for the N64. It highlights the game's tricky business, warning players about brain-teasing puzzles that might prove a real challenge, and advising them to keep a cool head. There's a screenshot showing Indy using a crate to reach a higher ledge, and another of him pulling a lever, with the text suggesting these puzzles always lead to something interesting. Under Movie Sequel, the review praises the game's looks and gameplay, noting that it captures the spirit of the films well, even if Indy's voice actor isn't quite Harrison Ford. A screenshot shows a cutscene with Indy interacting with another character, and another depicts a truck, suggesting a cinematic feel. Ready for Action focuses on the gameplay mechanics, stating that Indy's whip is crucial for traversing the environment, with a screenshot showing him swinging from a pole. Another screenshot shows him diving underwater, and the text reassures us that Indy isn't afraid of getting a little wet. Finally, a screenshot of Indy crawling through a dusty area suggests that some paths require a more hands-on approach. The overall sentiment is that Infernal Machine offers a fantastic platforming adventure that Indiana Jones fans will adore, calling it movie magic at its very best. This page is a vibrant full-page advertisement for Walker's new Pokémon Tazos promotion, featuring a rather enthusiastic Ash Ketchum clutching a bag of Monster Munch and Quavers. The ad encourages collectors to collect 25 new Pokémon Tazos, showcasing several of these collectible discs, including Chikorita, Electabuzz, and Hoot Hoot. It's a classic tie-in, promising a bit of Pokémon magic with every bag of crisps. This page is a cracking review of Conker's Bad Fur Day, promising us a game that's not for the faint-hearted, but by Jove, it's a good one. We're told it's rude, crude, and utterly hilarious, with Conker himself being quite the character, getting into all sorts of scrapes. The reviewer clearly had a blast with its toilet humor and surprisingly polished gameplay, even mentioning a brilliant Dracula spoof. It's a game that really pushes the boundaries, and it sounds like it's well worth the hefty £59.99 price tag. This page is a full-page advert for Conker's Bad Fur Day. It features a close-up of the titular squirrel, looking rather cheeky and wearing his signature blue shirt and yellow and blue trainers. The prominent red and white, warning, foul language, sign boldly states what we already know from the previous page. This game is definitely not for the faint of heart, but rather for those who appreciate a good laugh. It's a brilliant piece of marketing that perfectly captures the game's notorious adult humor. This page reviews Conker's Bad Fur Day, highlighting its surprisingly simple controls and focus on collecting cash and chocolate to survive. The reviewer notes that while Conker has few moves, the game compensates with context zones that trigger events when standing on specific pads, leading to often bizarre outcomes. The page also praises the game's disgusting yet gorgeous visuals and its crude humor, with screenshots showcasing Conker in various sticky situations, like using a frying pan as a weapon or hatching a baby raptor. The looks section specifically commends the detailed environments and spoof stages, suggesting they elevate the N64 experience. The Drive You Crazy section emphasizes the game's old-school platforming roots, requiring precision jumping and quick reflexes. The reviewer suggests that despite the vulgarity, the game is a well-crafted and humorous experience. This page dives deep into Conker's Bad Fur Day, exploring its varied environments and the quirky characters you'll encounter. We're treated to a look at some of the game's outlandish scenarios, from a rather chocolatey mountain that's actually a giant poo ball, to Count Bachelor's rather spooky mansion. There's also a glimpse of a rather green, dinosaur-filled swamp, proving that Conker's journey is certainly not for the faint-hearted. The sound section gives a thumbs up to the voice acting and music, promising hilarious character voices and catchy tunes that perfectly match each level's tone, with the singing poo apparently being a particular highlight. In Evil Dead, the reviewer discusses the game's boss battles, noting that each chapter presents a tough new challenge. We see a formidable Terminator-esque boss, and a rather sensitive caveman who needs his backside attacked. The reviewer also points out a particularly tricky sequence involving a lightbulb boss, confirming that Conker's BFD certainly keeps you on your toes. Meanwhile, Best Mates introduces some of Conker's companions, including the Weasel Mafia and conscripted soldiers, who offer help on his journey. There's a particularly memorable moment with a Wasp character, and the page teases more allies, including a loyal grey squirrel, who might just be the only one you can truly rely on. This page is a cracking review of Conker's Bad Fur Day, highlighting its surprisingly mature and often crude humor, which the reviewer clearly enjoys, calling it possibly the naughtiest console game ever. It's praised for its strong language and rumpy-pumpy scenes, with a nod to the game's ability to push boundaries with its cartoon characters despite the shock value. We see Conker wielding UCs in a Matrix-style spoof, battling zombies with a double-barreled shotgun, and joining the army with some cool guns. The review also touches upon Conker's more peculiar abilities, like using his natural body fluids on fire imps, which is noted as hilariously funny, though potentially offensive. The game is described as a monster-sized game that will provide months of dedicated gameplay. Overall, it's presented as a classic that doesn't shy away from its controversial content. This page is a full-page advert for Mini Jaffa Cakes, featuring Manchester United players Neville and Stam as bobbleheads. The tagline reads, "They're just impossible to save." This page is a full-page advert for the 64th Academy Awards, featuring characters from Conker's Bad Fur Day. It reads, "The 64th Academy Awards in association with..." It's a rather bizarre crossover, but I suppose it grabbed your attention. This page is a rather excellent celebration of Conker's Bad Fur Day, highlighting his award-worthy performances. We've got Best Actor Conker, showcasing him in various heroic and not-so-heroic moments, and Best Actress Berry, who definitely knows how to make an entrance. The Best Movie Moments. The Vertex section teases some truly epic scenes. It's a testament to Conker's diverse range that he can conquer bank raids and save the day, all while looking fabulous. The page also features the THQ and Nintendo official magazine logos, reminding us of the quality gaming experiences we can expect. This page is a fantastic Game Boy Color showcase, featuring a rather fetching yellow console for £49.99. We've got a special bundle offer. Buy any Game Boy Color and get a Pokemon title for just £25.99 off, or choose between Pokemon Pinball, Pokemon Yellow, Gold, Silver, Blue and Red, with some really tempting prices. There's also a Roland Garros French Open Tennis bundle for £26.99. On top of that, we've got the Game Boy Essentials pack and the Exploder cheat cartridge, plus a whole host of new Game Boy releases and pre-orders. It's a veritable treasure trove of portable gaming goodness. This page is a Nintendo 64 extravaganza, showcasing the console's best with a special bundle including Mario Tennis for just £109.99. We've got memory cards, the rather chunky purple soundstation speakers, and the essential N64 expansion pack. Plus, a massive list of N64 games from 1080 snowboarding to W/NWO Revenge, with some cracking prices and pre-order deals. Remember to upgrade to first-class delivery for a mere 99p. This page dives headfirst into Conker's Bad Fur Day, and boy does it deliver. The Buddy Battles section highlights the game's brilliant multiplayer, with the reviewer clearly impressed by the fun against A opponents, and the sheer cheekiness of it all. We're treated to screenshots of the heist and deathmatch modes, showcasing the game's quirky charm. Then there's the fun and games section, which is pure gold. The reviewer is clearly amused by the prehistoric disco, with the rock monsters and Conker's valiant efforts to get involved. The Raptor Team game also gets a mention, sounding like a right laugh with its crude humor. And who could forget the Professor's iconic "oh no" moment? It's all about that mature, rib-tickling gameplay. The multiplayer section reiterates how addictive the multiplayer modes are, even after finishing the single-player campaign, and the You're Not Coming In part warns that the game's adult humor, swearing and gore mean it's strictly for the over-15s, which is a bit of a downer for younger Nintendo fans who might have to beg their parents for it. Finally, we get a glowing game score of 93%, confirming Conker's Bad Fur Day is an absolute must-play for its inventive gameplay and shocking content. This page is a full-page advert for Cartoon Network's show Home Movies, featuring the tagline "You've been maimed" and a character from the show. It promotes the show airing Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays at 7:30 p.m. This page is a spectacular showcase for Banjo-Tooie on the Nintendo 64, and frankly, it looks absolutely sensational. The headline, Banjo-Tooie, is emblazoned across the top, in massive, bold letters, practically leaping off the page. We've got the game's price, a rather hefty £44.99, and a release date of the 13th of April. The review itself is incredibly positive, with the reviewer stating that Banjo-Tooie is looking just as lip-smackingly tasty as the original adventure, and is already looking to be one of the best N64 games of the year. The screenshots look utterly stunning, capturing the game's vibrant worlds and charming characters, including the titular bear Banjo and his feathered friend Kazooie, alongside the villainous Gruntilda. The sizzling sequel subheading perfectly captures the excitement surrounding this highly anticipated follow-up. This is clearly going to be a massive hit. This page is a stunning cover featuring Banjo and Kazooie, teasing the Banjo-Tooie review. The vibrant artwork, with Banjo's friendly face and Kazooie perched on his shoulder with a mischievous glint, perfectly captures the spirit of the N64 classic. The Nintendo 64 logo and the Banjo-Tooie review text clearly signal what's to come, and the overall impression is one of pure, unadulterated gaming excitement. It's a fantastic visual hook that screams, "Play me!" This page dives into the world of Banjo-Tooie with a "just to recap a little" section, reminding us of the plot and Gruntilda's impending return, all illustrated with 9 small screenshots that chronologically show some of the game's early events. We then get a glimpse into the Wonder Worlds, with descriptions and screenshots of Mayhem Temple, Glitter Gulch Mine, Witchy World, and Jolly Roger's Lagoon, painting a vivid picture of the diverse environments players will explore. The Look section praises the game's astonishing detail, promising a visually stunning experience that truly stretches the imagination. It seems the reviewer is thoroughly impressed with the game's presentation and scope. This page showcases the fantastic character roster of Banjo-Tooie. We get to know Banjo, the sensible honey bear who prefers a quiet life, and Kazooie, the feisty bird always ready with a quip. Then there's the returning villain Mumbo Jumbo, now a playable character with new skills, and the gruff, chalk and cheese military mole, Jamjars. Moving on, we meet Gruntilda's sisters, Mingella and Blobeld, who are helping their wicked sibling after her resurrection. Of course, we can't forget the formidable Gruntilda herself, returning from the grave to wreak havoc. The quirky Humba Wumba is also featured, a magical shaman capable of disguising Banjo. Finally, we have King Jingoling, the king of the Jinjos, who's enlisting Banjo and Kazooie's help against the moles. The page also highlights some rather peculiar and exciting game worlds. There's Pterodactyland, a land of ferocious dinosaurs, the industrial grunt industries, and the treacherous Hailfire Peaks. Last but not least, the review touches upon Cloud Cuckoo Land, a fittingly whimsical final world. It's clear the reviewer is having a blast with this game, praising the characters and the imaginative environments. This page delves into the collectible aspects of Banjo-Tooie, explaining the various items players will be hunting for. We're introduced to Jiggies, the primary collectibles needed to unlock new worlds, with 10 per level. Then there are Jinjos, small creatures you'll need to rescue, with 5 per level, and Globos, magical beings that act as fuel for Mumbo and Humba's magic, with only 2 per level. Cheeto pages offer cheats, with 3 per level, and Honeycomb and Eggs provide energy and ammunition respectively, with varying amounts. Feathers are also mentioned as a valuable resource for flight and invincibility. The review highlights the sheer brilliance of the gameplay, describing it as an incredible mix of fighting enemies and solving puzzles, with no wasted moments. It then touches on the adventure's start in Spiral Mountain, promising a wealth of new moves and challenges. The latter part of the page delves into Mumbo Jumbo's magical transformations, and the introduction of Humba Wumba, hinting at a dynamic and inventive magical system. Finally, a brief mention of multiplayer modes suggests that Rare managed to squeeze in some extra fun, though it's not quite the icing on the cake. This page is a full-page advert for Banjo-Tooie, showcasing the iconic duo in a humorous scenario with 2 doors, one marked with Banjo's silhouette and the other with Kazooie's, suggesting the need to split up to get the job done. This page is a fantastic full-page poster, featuring the beloved Banjo and Kazooie duo, captured mid-flight against a bright blue sky. It's a classic piece of Nintendo 64-era art, showcasing the charm and personality of these iconic characters. No text aside from the Nintendo official magazine branding. A proper nostalgia trip. This page is all about Banjo-Kazooie, and boy does it deliver. We get a deep dive into the moves you'll need to master, with Sergeant Jamjars doling out the wisdom. The reviewer's impressed by the sheer number of moves available, noting they're crucial for tackling Gruntilda and her baddies. The screenshots show off some cracking gameplay, highlighting abilities like the Fire Egg and the Cool Beak Barge. Then there's the Mumbo Jumbo section, celebrating his return as a playable character who can transform you and even levitate boulders. It looks like Mumbo's got some seriously powerful magic up his sleeve. The Warping Around segment introduces the handy warp pads, which are apparently scattered throughout the game's massive worlds, making travel a breeze. It's a neat feature that'll save you a load of backtracking, letting you zip around the game's many environments with ease. The reviewer thinks the warp pads are a brilliant addition for getting around quickly. This page is a review for Banjo-Tooie, focusing on its multiplayer and minigames. It highlights that while Banjo-Tooie would have been great as a single-player experience, it offers a 24-carat, super-duper monster of a multiplayer game, with plenty of decent minigames to choose from, though not quite reaching the heights of Perfect Dark or GoldenEye. The review praises the deathmatch arenas for their design, and the Dodgems minigame for its scoring potential. It also touches on controlling Kazooie, suggesting rummaging for tasty morsels. The latter half of the page delves into the light relief section, showcasing several minigames like Pot of Gold, Mini Sub Challenge, Mayhem Kickball, and Ordnance Challenge. These are described as welcome breaks from the main adventuring, offering quick bursts of fun. The reviewer seems particularly impressed with the variety and polish of these challenges, noting that Banjo-Tooie doesn't disappoint in this regard. The page concludes with a glowing Nintendo Awesome score of 97%, declaring it the best adventure game on the N64 and a must-buy. This page is a massive advert for the Red Hot Prizes competition. You can win a Game Boy Advance, Pokémon Gold and Silver, £150 of games, a Nintendo 64, wrestling tickets, a Nokia phone, a PlayStation 2, a laptop, a PC, and even tickets to see Robbie Williams. There's also a section for Red Hot cheats for various games, and a mention of www.fans.co.uk. It's a real treasure trove for gamers. This page features a review of Scooby-Doo, Classic Creep Capers for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer seems to think the game is a decent effort, especially for fans of the cartoon, noting that the characters are faithful to the show, and that it captures the Scooby-Doo feel. However, they also highlight that the game isn't particularly challenging, with mediocre mysteries and controls that can be a bit creepy due to their clunkiness. The reviewer suggests that while it's a fun romp for those who love Scooby and the gang, it might not offer enough depth for seasoned gamers. The screenshots show the classic Scooby-Doo characters and environments, and the review includes a quote calling it an absolute blast and a surefire winner. This page dives into the gameplay mechanics of Scooby-Doo, Classic Creep Capers. We get tips on how to find clues, with important items flashing on screen to help you out. It also highlights the inventory system, which you can access with the B button, and then use the A button to interact with items. The reviewer notes that while the game can be a bit tricky to navigate, the gang does most of the thinking for you. The sound department is given a bit of a drubbing, with the reviewer describing the tunes as rubbish, and the sound effects as potentially getting on your nerves. However, the groovy graphics section praises the game for its faithfulness to the cartoon show, with Scooby's trademark barks and speech bubbles for Zoinks and Jinkies. The visual presentation is considered good enough to bring the Scooby magic to life on the Nintendo 64. We're also given a peek at the game length, which states there are 4 mysteries to solve, with some objects well hidden. The gameplay is described as repetitive, but the reviewer seems to think players won't mind too much. Finally, the game scores a rather middling 51%, with the reviewer suggesting that fans might be better off with the Game Boy version instead, calling the N64 version a waste of a brilliant license, due to its awful controls, making the game almost unplayable. Quite the indictment. This page is a full-page advert for the Pokémon Gold and Silver Master Guide. It promises a complete solution to the games, including where to catch 'em all levels and bosses busted, maps for every location, and the latest Pokefacts and news. It also boasts advanced tips for Pokemasters. This page is a brilliant full-page advert showcasing the awesome collection from Nintendo. It's a celebration of the best, promising games that have been thoroughly tested and are absolute must-haves for any serious gamer. It's got that classic Nintendo charm, really hyping up the quality and fun factor of their gaming library. This page features the awesome collection of Nintendo 64 games. We've got Banjo-Kazooie, a fantastic platformer with beautiful worlds and tricky puzzles, and Donald Duck Quack Attack, a fun Disney cartoon-based adventure. Then there's Donkey Kong 64, packed with minigames and tough platforming challenges. Beetle Adventure Racing offers split-screen thrills, while Diddy Kong Racing provides a charming kart racing experience. Finally, Duke Nukem 0 Hour brings FPS action to the N64, and ECW Hardcore Revolution lets you experience brutal wrestling. The page also highlights the excellent Nintendo 64 controller and the 3D stick, along with the 6T4 controller. This page showcases some truly awesome N64 titles, kicking off with Excitebike 64, a surprisingly deep motocross racer that's still a riot with mates. Then we dive into the blistering speed of Zero X, a fantastic racer that will leave you breathless, and the timeless espionage of GoldenEye 007, a true multiplayer legend that's still unbeatable. For F1 fans, F1 Championship offers a decent slice of racing, but F1 Grand Prix 2 is the real deal for those who love sim-style action. FIFA 99 is here too, a solid football offering that'll get your mates playing. The page also features ISS 98, a brilliant football game that really captured the essence of the sport back in the day. And don't forget the controllers! We've got the funky Manta Ray, and the more traditional but still excellent HyperPad Plus. The G64 controller is also highlighted, a solid choice for any gamer. This page is a fantastic roundup of some top-tier Nintendo 64 multiplayer games. We kick off with International Track and Field, a surprisingly deep sports title that's a riot with friends, and then move on to Mario Golf, a great little golf sim that's surprisingly addictive. Next up is Jet Force Gemini, a solid shooter that holds up well, and the truly legendary Mario Kart 64, still one of the best kart races ever made, believe me. We also get a look at Lilat Wars, a brilliant space shooter that's a must-have, and Mario Party, which is perfect for a family get-together. Finally, Mario Tennis offers some slick gameplay. The page also highlights the Essential Rumble Pack and the Rechargeable Jolt Pack to enhance your gaming experience. This page showcases a collection of reviewed Nintendo 64 titles, kicking off with Mickey's Speedway USA, a delightful racing game praised for its fun multiplayer and Disney charm. Then we dive into the slick espionage of Perfect Dark, lauded for its deep gameplay and impressive features. Following that is Mortal Kombat 4, which despite its age, is still a brutal fighter with satisfying combat. Pokémon Puzzle League is highlighted as a brilliant and engaging puzzle game, a real brain teaser. NFL Quarterback Club 99 is presented as the premier American football experience on the N64, with excellent graphics and gameplay. Operation Winback is a solid tactical shooter, with some tricky controls but ultimately rewarding missions. Lastly, Pokémon Stadium is a standout, especially with the transfer pack, offering a truly immersive Pokémon battling experience. The page also features accessories, like the G64 Tremor and Memory Pack, and the Shockwave Rumble Pack, alongside the Jolt Pack, all adding to the N64's enhanced gaming capabilities. This page features a selection of games that the magazine staff have been playing, with 1080 Snowboarding and Ridge Racer 64 getting particular attention. 1080 Snowboarding is praised for its realism and rich gameplay, while Ridge Racer 64 is highlighted for its fun, fast-paced racing, and Tim enjoyed its hairpin bends. Battle for Naboo is described as a good Star Wars experience, with Dave stating, "The Starfighter is the best ship." Quake 2 and Rayman 2 are also reviewed, both scoring an impressive 91%, with Quake 2 being called a frantic fragfest, and Rayman 2 a great-looking and great-playing platformer. Resident Evil 2 gets a 94% score, with the reviewer finding it jumpy and scary, and a classic. Finally, the page also includes a brief look at Nintendo controller packs, noting their usefulness for saving high scores, and the 8 meg memory card from Blaze. This page showcases some absolute classics for the Nintendo 64, with a focus on the absolute best the console had to offer. We've got Rocket Robot on Wheels, a rather charming platformer that's packed with cool touches, and the critically acclaimed Rogue Squadron, which perfectly captures the thrill of being a starfighter pilot. Then there's the irreverent South Park, and its equally bonkers karting spin-off, South Park Rally. But the real star of the show here is undoubtedly Shadow Man. This spooky adventure, starring the titular character, is praised for its gripping gameplay and genuinely unsettling atmosphere. The reviewer clearly had a fright, but in the best possible way, and the mention of the nail gun killer is a delightful nod to its dark humor. Finally, Super Mario 64 gets a well-deserved mention, a game that truly changed the landscape of 3D platforming and is still as brilliant as ever. We also get a quick look at some N64 memory cards, essential for keeping all your high scores safe. This page dives into some top-tier Nintendo 64 titles, kicking off with the legendary Super Smash Bros., a fighting game that's an absolute must-have for any N64 owner, especially with its excellent multiplayer. Then we have Tony Hawk's Skateboarding, which, despite a few control quibbles, is still a fantastic skateboarding experience. Turok Rage Wars gets a nod for its impressive graphics and fun multiplayer, while Tarzan is praised as a decent platformer based on the Disney film. The page also highlights Turok 2 Seeds of Evil, another graphically impressive shooter with some truly scary moments. 1080-degree snowboarding is lauded for its realistic snowboarding physics and engaging gameplay. Finally, Twine, a Bond-themed shooter, is mentioned for its decent gameplay despite not being quite as polished as GoldenEye 007. To round things off, 2 steering wheels, the Logic 3 Top Drive Plus and Thrustmaster Formula Race Pro, are reviewed, with both offering a solid racing experience. This page delves into the amazing world of retro gaming, focusing on some truly classic Nintendo 64 titles. We start with WWF Attitude, a wrestling game that, despite its occasional clunkiness, offers a solid wrestling sim with plenty of options. Then, WWF No Mercy takes center stage, praised as the best wrestling game on the N64, boasting more characters and smoother gameplay. Next, we journey into the mystical realm of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. This reviewer clearly had a blast, calling it a great moment in gaming history, with the Deku Scrub Mask being a particular highlight, even if it's not quite as polished as Ocarina of Time. Speaking of Ocarina of Time, it's also revisited, lauded as a truly epic adventure that still holds up, with its story and gameplay being second to none. The page then switches gears to introduce us to the formidable Samus Aran, the star of Metroid. We learn about her epic battles against Mother Brain, and the Metroids themselves, with the upcoming GameCube Metroid offering a first-person perspective. To round things off, we get a look at some fantastic N64 controllers, including the Guillemot Formula FX Racing Wheel and the Guillemot Race 64 Compact, both offering a more immersive gaming experience. This page presents the Awesome Collection, a look at some N64 games that came close to being award-worthy. We've got Dual Heroes, which is apparently so bad it's good, a bit like Power Rangers gone wrong, and Aero Gauge, the poor man's F-Zero X. Then, it's a gallery of games that are worth your time. Chef's Luv Shack, Command & Conquer, Duck Dodgers, ISS 2000, Micro Machine 64, Mystical Ninja, NBA Jam, Pokemon Snap, Roadsters, Supercross 2000, Wipeout 64, World Driver Champ, Vigilante and Second Offense, Weetrix, Xena Warrior Princess, and Yoshi's Story. Phew! It finishes with a sales chart showing The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, at number 1, with Pokemon Stadium and Turok Rage Wars following closely. This page is a rather magnificent full-page advert for the Pokemon Monster Guide. It's aimed squarely at trainers who want to catch 'em all, boasting vital information on all 251 Pokemon, breeding tips, and essential facts. Plus, it comes with free Pokeposters and other goodies. Honestly, if you're serious about becoming a Pokemon master, you'd be daft not to grab this bargain at £3.75. It's on sale now, so don't miss out. This page dives into the amazing world of Banjo-Kazooie, with some truly crafty cheat codes to help you on your way. It highlights how to double your feathers with the password Shredder, and increase your egg count with SGGE. It also offers a neat trick to stop getting killed by falling by entering Fourplath, and if your energy is low, Cacabieno is your new best mate. Over on the right, we've got a guide to Episode 1, Battle for Naboo, promising mint passwords to help you hammer the huts. It sounds like a brilliant way to get more from your game, especially after you've finished the Star Fighting quest. This page is packed with essential tips for N64 fans. This page is packed with essential tips and tricks for N64 gamers. First up, we get a handy guide to controller icons, making sure you know your way around those complex games. Then, it's on to Twine for more multiplayer madness in the world is not enough, with tips to unlock secret goodies by completing certain levels. Next, The legendary Banjo-Kazooie gets a shout-out with cheats to unlock new worlds and how to master the sandcastle room. Finally, Mario Tennis serves up some net tricks to become king of the court, with advice on exploiting the computer's weaknesses and mastering the serve and volley. It's a real blast from the past, offering up some proper classic gaming wisdom. This page delivers a fantastic Top 5 Tips section, covering some absolute N64 classics. We kick off with Quake 2, revealing a secret arena and a code for unlimited ammo, perfect for any budding deathmatch enthusiasts. Next, Pokémon Snap offers advice on getting those coveted ace shots with Shelder, and also a tip to help evolve Slowpoke. Then, Twine gives us a glimpse into unlocking hidden characters by conquering the entire game, and WWF No Mercy reveals how to get Jerry Lawler into the ring for some classic wrestling action. Finally, Perfect Dark is highlighted with a headshot-focused tip for the formidable Joanna Dark. Over in the classic corner, we revisit the timeless masterpiece, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. There are some brilliant tips here to help you conquer its toughest challenges. You'll learn how to warp with Nairu's love and heal Lon Lon Milk with Epona's song, plus a rather clever way to get the Lens of Truth. We also get a couple of hints for obtaining Bigoron's sword, including a tip about getting a potion for the Lost Woods Girl and a rather cheeky way to get it from the carpenter in Gerudo Valley. It's a proper nostalgia trip, and these tips are genuinely gold. This page is a treasure trove for Donkey Kong 64 fans, with the Hard as Nails feature giving you the lowdown on defeating the game's trickiest bosses. We've got tips for beating the frantic factory boss by switching Simeon Slams, a clever tactic for defeating the gloomy Galleon octopus thingy by nabbing DK stars, and the lowdown on taking down Chunky Kong's Dedodon. There's also a guide to annihilating the metal monster in Crystal Caves. Beyond that, the page is packed with cheats and tips for a massive list of N64 games, including Banjo-Kazooie, Blast Corps, and the ever-popular Mario Kart 64. You'll also find a massive phone number to call for even more cheats, because who doesn't love a good cheat code? This page is all about sharing your gaming prowess with the world. It kicks off with an invitation to send in your Nintendo tips, hints, and even N-cheats, with the promise of winning a copy of WWF No Mercy. Then we dive into some specific game tips. For Toy Story 2, there's a clever way to beat the remote-controlled car in the neighborhood level without using Buzz's skates, by opting for a spin attack instead. Moving on to bomb disposal, there's a rather amusing tip about disarming a bomb hidden within a toilet, which sounds like a very British way to save the world if you ask me. And finally, for Super Smash Bros, we get a tip on how to unlock the item menu by playing versus mode 50 times, which is bound to make your multiplayer matches a whole lot more interesting. It seems like a great way to share the Nintendo love, and perhaps even bag yourself a prize. This page is all about your gaming queries and new ways to play. We've got your back with answers to those tricky spots in Perfect Dark, offering advice on clearing out aliens and tackling the big boss. Plus, there's a tip for WWF No Mercy on unlocking Shawn Michaels through survival mode. The New Ways to Play section is fantastic, showcasing a multiplayer challenge for Perfect Dark where you use the laptop gun, and a clever treasure hunt in Majora's Mask, requiring you to collect rupees for a score challenge. It's great to see community ideas getting a spotlight, and who knows, you might just win a prize for your brilliant gaming insights. This page is all about tough N64 challenges and the awesome results. We've got your top scores for Pokémon Snap and WWF No Mercy. In Pokémon Snap, Richard Hyens took the top spot in Tunnel Challenge mode with an insane 2,800,040. WWF No Mercy's Ladder Match Challenge saw James Jackson and Cowley claim the top banana with a blazing 21 seconds. It looks like some people have way too much time on their hands, but fair play to them. Below that, we see the rest of the top players for both games, showing who else managed to conquer these challenges. There's also a bit of a teaser about how you can win an official Nintendo 64 controller if you think you're the best. The next page is all about the Mega Challenge, a competition hosted by Rare for their games. It features Donkey Kong on the left, looking rather smug about cheating. The main text details the rules for a Rare Mega Challenge, which involves playing Crash Site Confrontation on the N64. You need to get a high score, take a picture of your stat screen, and send it in. The top 4 will compete in a final at Nom Towers. There's also a mention of winning a Nintendo controller pad or Rumble Pack if your score is top in its league, and a closing date of April 27, 2001, with the final on May 12. It's all very serious business, with stern warnings about disqualification for cheaters. This page is a fantastic guide to the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace game, specifically focusing on the battle for Naboo and escape from the Tagord missions. It's packed with helpful tips and visual aids, which is brilliant because this game can be a bit tricky to get the hang of initially. We get a rundown on the controls and what to expect, including your partner, Captain KL, who apparently gets into a spot of bother quite often. Sounds like a typical sidekick. There are some cracking screenshots showing you how to navigate through the levels. The Getting Started section is particularly useful, with advice on using the flash speeder and dealing with those pesky Trade Federation droids. The Quick Escape part is also a godsend, detailing how to get away from the droids with KL in tow. It's a solid guide for anyone looking to master the Naboo missions and earn those all-important gold medals. The overall tone is encouraging, and it definitely makes you want to jump back into the game and try out the strategies. This page offers some expert tips for navigating the thrilling missions in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace on Nintendo 64. We dive into Neimoidian Plunder, where you'll need to protect Captain Kale from pesky droid stabs, and even swap your vehicle for a police cruiser to finish the job. Then, it's on to Air to Land, to help some traders fend off gunboats. Finally, we get a cracking guide to dogfighting in the skies, with advice on taking down enemy fighters and bombers for that coveted gold medal. This is exactly the kind of expert advice that'll have you mastering Naboo in no time. This page offers some cracking tips for Star Wars Episode 1, The Battle for Naboo on the N64. We've got the lowdown on Smuggler Alliance and how to snag the farmer bonus by taking out some pesky staps. Then it's on to the hut, where you'll be helping Borvo out by taking down some formidable tanks. The final section, Let Your People Die, is a bit of a morbid title, but it gives advice on how to tackle the missions, even when you can't save everyone. Apparently, some of the missions are a bit tougher than others, and might require you to make some difficult decisions. This page dives deep into the N64's Star Wars Episode 1, The Battle for Naboo, with a guide to tackling the Hutt's retreat and helping the Hutt levels. It details how to get Borvo the Hutt safely to his base, a crucial step for resistance, and offers a choice between air or ground support for the next part of the mission. The Borvo's base section then guides you through destroying the Trade Federation's production factory, a mission filled with tanks and N1 starfighters. The reviewer seems impressed with the detailed, step-by-step advice, suggesting players might need extra practice on earlier levels to handle the Trade Federation goons. It's a solid guide for those struggling to navigate the treacherous paths of Naboo. This page is a fantastic walkthrough for Star Wars Episode 1, The Battle for Naboo, focusing on the COM-4 mission. It breaks down the objective to destroy 3 satellites guarding the main COM station, offering clear visual aids for each step. The guide emphasizes the danger of proximity mines and the importance of dodging incoming missiles from the station's launchers. It even touches on the station's vulnerability once the launchers are gone, encouraging players to finish it off with secondary weapons. The reviewer's tone suggests this mission is a significant challenge, but this guide seems to provide all the necessary intel to overcome it. It's a real lifesaver for anyone stuck on this particular space battle. This page is a brilliant guide to tackling some tricky missions in Star Wars Episode 1, The Battle for Naboo. We've got the Glacial Grave level, where you'll be destroying weapon platforms and getting out sharpish, with 7 handy screenshots to show you the ropes. Then there's the Boat bonus section, which details a hidden but heavily guarded bonus objective. It's all about following a ravine and blasting your way through turrets and gunboats, and the reviewer clearly thinks it's worth the effort. The screenshots here are superb, showing off some explosive action and offering crucial tips for navigating the treacherous path. It's a real must-read for any Naboo pilot wanting to master the game. This page offers an expert guide to navigating 2 challenging missions in Star Wars Episode 1, The Battle for Naboo, the Andrevia River, and missile destruction. For the Andrevia River, it focuses on surviving a minefield, advising players to use their radar and take it slow, with 4 screenshots illustrating the best approach to dealing with mines and turrets. It also covers the Liberation mission, detailing how to free the camp by destroying power generators and turrets, with another 4 screenshots providing visual guidance. The tips are sharp and to the point, perfect for any pilot looking to achieve a gold medal. This page dives into 2 more missions from Star Wars Episode 1, The Battle for Naboo. First up is Sanctuary, a rather tense escort mission, where you're the sole protector of some rather vulnerable civilians, so no pressure then. The Gunboat Diplomacy section guides you through stealing a gunboat from the Trade Federation, with 3 screenshots showing you how to blast your way through tanks and a tunnel to safety. Then we move on to Take to the Air, where you'll be swapping your gunboat for a mega cool M1 starfighter after ditching some droid tanks. The guide, with 3 screenshots, explains how to take out tanks, and then deal with a collapsed clock tower to help your rescued passengers escape. Over on the protection section, you're tasked with escorting speeders down a mountain pass while fending off droid fighters. 4 screenshots illustrate how to deal with enemy tanks, and snag a bonus by following a particular route. Finally, there's a little teaser for next month, promising more Naboo action with a new twist. Seems like the adventure continues, starfighters. This page is all about Pokémon breeding in Gold and Silver, and it's a cracking guide to getting your own adorable little Pokémon babies. We're talking about the real nitty-gritty here, covering everything from the basics of dropping your Pokémon off at the daycare to how to make sure they're actually compatible. Nobody wants a Sudowoodo and a Jinx getting friendly, do they? The guide explains that you'll need to check with the old folks at the daycare on Route 34 to see if your Pokémon are up for a bit of romance, and then it's off to the garden to let nature take its course. It even gives you a peek at the results, showing you what the screen looks like when your Pokémon have had a bit of private time, and whether an egg is on the way. Plus, there's a fun little bit about how long you'll have to wait for your egg to hatch, with a hint that breeding 2 of the same Pokémon might speed things up. All in all, a must-read for any aspiring Pokémon breeder. This page is a fantastic guide to Pokémon breeding in Gold and Silver, focusing on the essential can't breed, won't breed aspects, and introducing some little breeders. It highlights Ditto as the ultimate breeding partner, capable of transforming into anything, and showcases Mew as an example of an unbreedable Pokémon. The article then dives into specific Pokémon that can be bred, like Pichu, Elekid, Magby, Tyrogue, Smoochum, Cleffa, and Igglybuff, giving tips on how to breed them. It's a useful resource for anyone looking to expand their Pokémon family through breeding, reminding us that some creatures are just off-limits for romance. This page is a brilliant guide to Pokémon breeding in Gold and Silver, really getting down to the nitty-gritty of how to pass down moves to your offspring. It shows you how to get Pokémon with specific, learned moves, which is a fantastic way to create truly custom fighters. We see examples of this with Growlithe inheriting moves like Bite and Roar, and Pichu getting Thunder Shock and Charm. The article also touches on how stats are inherited, with female Pokémon taking after their fathers, and males after their mothers. It's a clever system that really adds a layer of strategy to breeding. Plus, there's a great bit about Ditto being the ultimate breeding partner, which we all know is true if you want to get creative with your lineage. It even gives a heads up on Pokémon that can't inherit moves, like Caterpie and Magikarp, but don't worry, there's always a way to get those useful TMS if you're willing to trade. A truly essential read for any aspiring Pokémon breeder wanting to create a team with killer movesets. This page dives into the nitty-gritty of Pokémon breeding in Gold and Silver, focusing on creating perfect pairs. It explains how you can predict what your Pokémon egg will hatch into by showing a Pichu with its potential offspring. The guide highlights that if you breed 2 different types of Pokémon, the baby will inherit the appearance of its mother at its lowest evolutionary form, which is a neat trick for collecting. It also gives a glimpse at a Venonat, detailing its stats and how its eyes function as radar units. The Pokémon Monster Guide is also advertised, promising collector's edition info on all 251 Pokémon, breeding tips, and essential facts for trainers. Finally, there's a champion breeder section offering tips for hatching more Pokémon, with the next issue promising more hereditary moves. This page is a fantastic dive into the Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, specifically focusing on the challenging Great Bay Coast and Zora eggs. The issue is split into 3 main sections: Contents, Link's Legends, and Enter Great Bay Temple. In Contents, we get a rundown of the articles, including completing the Great Bay Coast and recovering masks, which sounds like a proper challenge. Link's Legends lists previous issues, so if you missed any of the Majora's Mask guide, you know where to look. The main event is Enter Great Bay Temple, a guide to navigating the humid corridors and tackling its puzzles. It even gives us a glimpse of some adorable baby Gorons. We're treated to a We Said box with a quote, praising Majora's Mask for silencing critics with its compelling adventure, which is spot on. Then, we move on to the Great Bay Coast section, detailing the misty, fishless waters and the task of ridding them of evil spirits. The Zora eggs part of the guide looks particularly interesting, with a walkthrough for collecting all the eggs, including a helpful map and screenshots. It seems like the game is really ramping up the difficulty here, but the reviewer clearly thinks it's worth the effort. It even mentions a trick for collecting eggs, which is always a plus. This guide offers strategies for challenging aspects of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It details overcoming the Great Bay Temple mini-boss, emphasizing the need for arrows and magic. Players can learn how to obtain the vital Song of Storms by awakening a skeleton and utilizing ice arrows, as well as acquiring the captain's hat. The guide also provides hints for entering Icana Castle, requiring the Elegy of Emptiness, and utilizing the Mirror Shield and Power Kegs. For the final temple, the Stone Tower, tips focus on navigating its inverted state with switches and light arrows. Finally, instructions are given for obtaining the Gibdo Mask, involving ghost banishment, the Song of Healing, and clever use of the Elegy of Emptiness to create duplicates and manipulate switches. Overall, it's a helpful resource for players seeking assistance. This page offers some top tips for Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, specifically tackling the tricky Twin Mold boss and the final confrontation with Majora's Mask itself. For Twin Mold, it highlights the importance of the Giant's Mask for extra power and keeping your magic topped up, recommending milk for refills. Then, it dives into the epic Majora's Mask battle, breaking down the Skull Kid's multiple forms. It gives advice on how to handle each phase, from using your sword effectively to the importance of fairies in bottles for the more challenging bits. The latter half of the page shifts focus to the Café and Anjou Day 1 quest, a famously complex bit of business. It walks you through the initial steps, visiting the mayor, then heading to the inn to meet the postman. Day 2 suggests waiting at the laundry pool and then confronting Café at his house, while Day 3 outlines how to give Anjou the pendant of memories and then the more involved task of meeting Café at the kitchen. It's a detailed guide to one of the game's most memorable and involved side quests. This page is packed with essential tips for Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, continuing its deep dive into the game's secrets. We're treated to a guide on finding several crucial masks: the Zora Mask, Stone Mask, Giant's Mask, Leader Mask, Romani's Mask, and the Captain's Hat. Each mask comes with a brief explanation of where to find it and its in-game use, which is incredibly helpful for navigating Termina. The page also covers the tricky Mask of Truth and the Gibdo Mask, both important for progressing through certain quests. And for those who've braved the moon itself, there's a breakdown of the Fierce Deity Mask, a legendary item that makes the final boss a cakewalk. Finally, there's a celebratory "You Did It" section with a screenshot, likely rewarding players for their efforts in completing the game. This is a treasure trove for any aspiring hero of Termina. This page is all about the club, featuring the usual letters and comments from readers. Tim and Rich are back, looking as enthusiastic as ever about gaming. There's a Mario's Winner section highlighting some rather opinionated letters, including one about the age rating of Conker, and another about the name Gordon for Bowser. We also get some reader feedback on Nintendo 64 games, and a rather scathing review of Ridge Racer 64. The Bowser's Prison section asks us to imagine which N64 games we'd take into the fiery depths with us, and Shane McGrath's choices are pretty solid, with Pokémon Stadium and Ocarina of Time making the cut, naturally. This page dives into the Mario's Hotline and Game or Lame sections, showcasing reader opinions and creative game ideas. We see a young chap, Jackson Gould, dreaming up a Nintendo game involving Donkey Kong, and it sounds rather spiffing. His idea is to have the whole DK crew, including Funky, Candy and Cranky Kong, take on some evil goons. It sounds like a proper adventure with weapons, gadgets and potions aplenty. The Mario's Hotline features a lively debate, with readers sharing their thoughts on everything from Pokémon to the merits of a good argument about video games. One chap, Ivan Petrichal, is quite clear that Conker's Bad Fur Day is for 18+ only, and who are we to argue? Another letter expresses frustration with the stereotypical portrayals of girls in video games. It's all very passionate stuff, and it's great to see such engaged readers. We also get a mention of Rare's Dinosaur Planet, which sounds like it could be a real gem if it makes it to the GameCube. Overall, a good dose of reader interaction and some truly inventive game concepts. This page is a fantastic dive into reader mail and the magazine's own insights. We start with your email, where readers share their opinions. Michael Dodd is a big fan of Sonic on the Sega Mega Drive, and Peter Jourdain weighs in on the Pokémon phenomenon, believing it's all hype. Rodri Ellis gives a nod to the Zelda cartoon, and Nicola Brown is ready for a WWF vs Pokémon showdown. There's also a great section on a few email rules, reminding everyone to keep it brief and to the point. Moving on, Mario's Winner highlights some brilliant reader submissions. David Collins praises Conker's Bad Fur Day, and Neil Gartshaw is impressed with the realism of Pokémon. James Archer is excited about Link's potential to transform and take on monsters. Then, we get a peek at WWF Superstar Interviews, where the magazine is teaming up with THQ for a monthly WWF page. They're looking for questions for their upcoming interviews with wrestling stars. Finally, the Blagfest Answers section provides some humorous replies to reader submissions. It's a real treat to see the community so involved, and the magazine engaging with them directly, even with a wrestling legend giving us his 2 cents on favorite matches. This page is all about your vote for the Nintendo Top 100. It features reader comments, with one chap absolutely raving about Game Boy Advance shots, and another who doesn't hold back on his disdain for Sega games. The main event is the reader vote itself, where you're invited to list your favorite 10 Nintendo things, from classic games and heroes to villains, and even issues of the magazine. Plus, they're promising a prize for anyone whose vote matches the final top 10. So, get those pens ready, and let your Nintendo passion be heard. This page is a cracking giveaway. We've got 2 Game Boy Advances up for grabs, along with the full UK launch lineup of games. Imagine being the envy of all your mates, playing your new GB Advance a whole month before it officially hits the shelves. You can be battling it out in F-Zero, or testing your brain power in Kuru Kuru Kururin. Nintendo is really treating us with this one, so make sure to check out how you can win this amazing prize on the next page. This page is a look at the upcoming Game Boy Advance, hyping up its launch and showcasing the brilliant Mario Kart Advance as a must-have title. The article talks about the diverse gaming library expected, including Pokémon World, ISS, Rayman, Choo Choo Rocket, and Pinobi. It's got us all excited for what's to come. This page dives into the Pokémon phenomenon with a focus on the non-masters and their tour. It highlights the challenges faced by trainers in cities like Southampton and Ipswich, and congratulates those who manage to beat the non-masters as true Pokémon champions. The page features photos and descriptions of 3 skilled trainers: Dave McComb, who favoured Mewtwo; Darren Van Vuren, a formidable opponent who was unstoppable on the Pokémon Tour; and Richard Marsh, whose Mewtwo was a fearsome fighter. Tim Street is also featured as the whipping boy of Nintendo Official Magazine, whose Pokémon are well-trained but often lose battles easily. It's a great snapshot of the competitive Pokémon scene. This page takes us to London for a couple of Pokémon events. First up is Lee Valley Leisure Centre, where a broken Mew download machine caused a bit of chaos, but luckily, the trainers there were friendly and had plenty of battle strategies. We see Andrew Hicks winning his battle. Then, it's off to Crystal Palace for the tour's longest day, with rich battling queues and Mewtwo trainers until well after 4. It seems Sam Fletcher battled through some pain, and Maria Miria was a brave challenger, though the Nom crew were apparently on form too. What a day for Pokémon fans in London. This page brings us to Glasgow and Edinburgh for some Pokémon action. In Glasgow, despite the Scottish trainers not quite filling the place, the non-masters were still in for a tough time, with Michael Jackson battling hard and Christopher Saunders even dressing up as Ash Ketchum. James Reed, however, managed to conquer all the non-masters. Over in Edinburgh, the tour's final day, the Scottish trainers put up a fierce challenge, but the Nomsters ultimately prevailed. It looks like they all had a great time, even managing to get some much-needed sleep after 13 dates. We also have the magazine's staff credits and subscription details, including the rather steep £62.50 for a UK year's subscription. Blimey, that's a lot of poker dollars. This page is an advert for ringtones and graphics for Nokia phones, with the slogan, "Change that ringtone, personalize your Nokia mobile." It also features a large advert for the Pokémon Master Guide, calling it the greatest Game Boy adventure of all time. There's a King Cat Entertainment advert with various games like Mario Party and Donkey Kong Country, and a Not Just Nokia section with ringtone codes for popular songs. This page brings us the exciting news that Dr. Mario is making a splash on the Nintendo 64. As a seasoned gamer, I can tell you this puzzle classic is a real gem, and the thought of its supertuned gameplay in the latest Mario game on the N64 is enough to make any retro enthusiast weak at the knees. We're treated to a fantastic breakdown of the game, explaining how you'll be dropping pills to combat nasty viruses, with more points for matching colors. The screenshots showcase the familiar, addictive gameplay, and it sounds like the addition of multiplayer modes, including cooperative and versus play, will really ramp up the fun. Plus, who can resist playing as Mario and Wario to cure viruses? It's a truly brilliant puzzle experience. This page showcases Drive Mario 64, highlighting its addictive puzzle gameplay where you match colored pills to defeat viruses. It boasts impressive graphics and, crucially for us retro enthusiasts, multiplayer modes. The reviewer is clearly impressed, calling it a just one more go kind of game. It's a fantastic puzzle title that's sure to keep you hooked. This page gives us a preview of Aiden Chronicles, the first mage on the Nintendo 64. It sounds like a traditional turn-based RPG, promising a compelling story with plenty of twists and turns, and a world teeming with strange creatures. We get a glimpse of some of the playable characters, including Alarin, a young man training to be a knight, Brenna, an orphan and a skilled thief, Abrakan, a gruff but loyal knight, and Raider, a magic-savvy tutor. The screenshots give us a feel for the game's visuals, with one showing a rather imposing castle, and another, a combat encounter. The reviewer seems cautiously optimistic, noting that it promises a return to traditional RPG gameplay and a rich story, which is always a good sign for fans of the genre. It's definitely one to keep an eye on. This page is a fantastic look at the upcoming Pokémon game for the Game Boy Advance, teasing a brand new adventure with some amazing new creatures. We get a glimpse of some of the Pokémon themselves, including a rather charming lizard-like one called Kakurion and a cute blue mouse-like creature. The article also highlights a new peripheral, the GBA e-card reader, which works with specially designed Pokémon trading cards. Apparently, these cards hold a wealth of information about Pokémon attacks, evolutions and strategies, and can even store more data than a standard barcode. Quite the technological leap. It also mentions the UK release of a new Pokémon film featuring Celebi, which sounds rather exciting. On top of that, we're treated to a preview of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 for the Game Boy Advance. It sounds like it's going to be a dream come true for skating fans, with stunning animation and parks, and you can even play as Tony Hawk himself. The realism is apparently pushed to new levels, and you can expect to pull off some seriously impressive combos. The reviewer seems pretty chuffed with both titles, calling the Pokémon game solid gold, and the Tony Hawk game amazing looking and incredible to play. It's definitely a strong showing for the GBA. The next page is an exciting preview of the Game Boy Advance, boasting a launch date of June 22nd with an estimated price of around £80. We're told there will be 8 launch titles, including Super Mario Advance, Kuru Kuru Kururin, and Zero Maximum Velocity, with 30 more expected by Christmas. The page also features a particularly sharp screenshot of a racing game on the GBA. We get a peek at some of the launch lineup too, with Lady Sears looking like a solid side-scroller and Tweety Pie promising a chaotic board game fest with Looney Tunes characters. Plus, Choo Choo Rocket is on the way for some multiplayer fun, and 321 Blast Off on GB Advance, with Iridian 3D, sounds like a blast of a shoot-'em-up. Mario himself makes an appearance too, hinting at his involvement in the Grumba's finest games, and we're assured that the Game Boy Advance is one wicked game, and a perfect title to showcase the awesome power of Game Boy Advance. This page is a full-page advertisement for Pokémon Gold and Silver on the Game Boy Color, featuring the Pokémon Houndour. It highlights the arrival of the Johto region, and its new features, encouraging players to catch me tonight. This page is absolutely massive, with "We're the biggest and best" emblazoned across the top, and it certainly lives up to the hype. We're treated to a tantalizing glimpse of what's coming next month, promising the biggest, best, first, most games, and official content from Nintendo. The iconic Nintendo logo takes center stage, and the magazine proudly declares, 6 promises we always keep. You'll get the scoop on every Nintendo 64 or Game Boy game first, with the most shots of new games, written in an easy-to-understand style with tips and cheats that actually work. Plus, you can trust the writers and, shock horror, you won't need any other magazine. To top it all off, there's a peek at the Game Boy Advance with a screenshot that looks suspiciously like Mario Kart, hinting at exciting previews to come. And as if that wasn't enough, we've got a Go Buy It the 11th of May tag, clearly showing this issue is all about getting you hyped for what's next, along with a massive Papa Ma teases, which is just tantalizing. This page is a jam-packed preview of what's to come, featuring a veritable who's who of Nintendo characters, including Bowser looking his usual grumpy self, a cheerful Birdo, and the ever-popular Mario. We're promised exclusive first play, and all your Nintendo faves, with a special mention of awesome RPG action, and Mario and his flatmates. There's also a glimpse of the Game Boy Color, showcasing a Simpsons title, and a snippet of a Star Wars game. Plus, we get some handy tips, including advice for Pokémon Gold and Silver, and a Battle for Naboo strategy. It's a glorious montage of gaming goodness, leaving us all eager for more. This page is a tribute to The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, as a WWF master, and a look ahead to his role in The Mummy Returns. We get a fact file with his height, weight, and finishing move, along with some trivia about his wrestling career and his upcoming Hollywood venture as the Scorpion King. There's also a little quiz asking for the name of the evil mummy, with the answer hidden in the magazine's text. It's a fun peek at a wrestling icon branching out into the movie world. This page is a massive advert for ukgames.com, offering incredible deals on N64, Game Boy and PlayStation games, peripherals and accessories. You can grab bundles, free games, and even a free adapter with every Game Boy Color purchase. Plus, there are offers for filmaday.co.uk, ukcheats.com, and gameaday.co.uk. It's a gamer's paradise with discounts galore. This page is a full-page advertisement for Magic: The Gathering, featuring a torn Magic card with a creature called Thorn Elemental being ripped apart by claws. It promotes the game with the tagline, "The Power and the Gory," and provides a phone number and website to play the game.